Good morning, church. I hope that you are blessed and that you are safe. And I want to assure you that you are constantly in my prayers. There was some time the past weeks where that's basically all I could do for you. I could just pray for you. I had very little strength. My wife and I were extremely sick. That we are here today, that I can speak to you today, it is just a miracle from God. It is only by His doing that has happened. And we want to thank you for your prayers during this time. We are not 100% where we should be yet. It's coming there. This morning when I got up, I had jelly legs. You know that story. And I thought, man, how am I going to get to that church today? And how am I going to preach a sermon today? But God is good. And He's here. I still get some coughing episodes. So let's just ask that God will protect me from that. We want to give our greetings from my family. Edna especially has sent her greetings to you, as well as our children. Our children has sent their greetings. Before we start the sermon today, I would like us just to open our Bibles, if we can, Isaiah 41, and we're going to read from verse 10. Isaiah 41, verse 10. And I'm privileged to be able to share this beautiful promise with you today, because a few weeks ago I did not think that's going to be possible. Isaiah 41 verse 10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This is powerful. Let's pray. Let's pray. Gracious Father, we dare not even try and give a message from our own thoughts. And for that reason, Lord, I pray that you would be glorified today, that I would not be seen, that I would not be heard, but that you would be seen, Lord, and your greatness will be seen. And Lord, I pray that you would put in our hearts the conviction that we need today, that we can trust you in everything. In the disasters that does come over us, in the pandemics that does affect us, Lord, in the financial difficulties that we are, in all of these things, we know, Lord, you are there. And we pray that you would make it clear to us today. I thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, the Lord is impressing on my heart to speak to you heart to heart. There's no, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm going to speak straight to you about the lessons Edna and I have learned in the near-death experience that we've had contracting coronavirus. And once again, I pray that I would not be seen, but that the Lord will be seen. Well, we've learned 9 lessons, and I believe as time goes on, it might become 10 more, because it was 3, and then it was 4, and then it was 5, and it actually, this morning became 9. And where is God in my suffering. And where was God in my suffering the last couple of weeks? Where was He? The reality is, our world is really filled with evil and suffering. There's war and there is injustice everywhere. There's violence and there's greed that choke humanity every moment of every day. We see it around us and we get fearful. We actually get anxious about it. And this all happens while disease and viruses and natural death disasters and famines kills millions of people in the globe. We all know that it's not the way it's supposed to be. That 3-year-old little girl die of breast cancer. That's not normal, is it? Families are not supposed to stop existing with a car accident. And in the last couple of weeks, I've seen numerous of these cases. I mean, just yesterday, there was 100, no, not yesterday, it was the previous day, there was 130 car pile-up in California. 130, there was numerous people that were killed. There was numerous of them that landed up in hospital. Families are not supposed to stop that one. Thousands are not supposed to die because of this microscopic virus. And I want to tell you, it's not as far as China anymore. You know it. It's our own family members. It's our church members. It's our loved ones. It's our colleagues that are very sick, and many of them have died. There's many of my peers that have died in the last couple of weeks and months. And then we ask the question, and we may ask the question, we're tempted to ask the question, please God, does He care? I don't know if you were tempted, but I was tempted to ask this question, and I was not only tempted, I did ask this question in the last couple of weeks. Where are you, God, in all this evil and all this suffering? Where are you? Some belief systems say evil and all these things that I mentioned, injustice and violence and all of that, is just an illusion. I want to tell you, it is not an illusion. The moment a child dies, 10,000 of which will die today, that's what my stats say, it is not an illusion. It is a nightmarish reality. It's something that we have to face. Another answer we get from some belief systems is maybe God has to allow evil that we can make a choice. Now just listen well to this one. So what I'm trying to tell you is God had allowed the Holocaust. Otherwise, you and I would not be able to freely choose. Could you believe that? Reaction? No, I cannot believe that. I can't believe that this can be true. And besides, this theory doesn't answer the question. Where is God? Why does this happen? Why has God forgotten us? And the question is, has He really forgotten us? Has He really forsaken us? We need to answer that question. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, where am I going with all of this? And to complicate it even more, I want to read a quote to you that I find in the book Counsels on Health, page 462. It says, near the end of time, Satan will bring disease and disaster. listen well to this, until populous cities are reduced to ruin and desolation. So we ain't seen nothing yet. He imparts to the air a deadly taint. Does it sound familiar? This is why we carry these little things. By the way, the only reason why I don't have it now is because I need to speak to you. Listen to this. He imparts to the air a deadly taint, and thousands perish by the pestilence. These visitations, listen well, are to become more and more frequent and disastrous. You ain't seen nothing yet. This is the test run. This was the test run. My personal faith has been challenged in the last couple of months with all this lockdown and everything. I've heard some people say, "Look, Pastor, you've got a nice life now, you can just sit at home." Lockdown. I can tell you that's not been the case. It's been the most difficult time for the pastors at this time, because our hearts are there with you. Our hearts are there in your homes, and we cannot get there. The devastating effect of this coronavirus, especially the second wave, has not only knocked on the doors of those of our neighbors and of some church members, but it's knocked on the doors of our friends, our own families. It's knocked on our own personal doors. And the question did come up: where is God in my suffering? Ed and I were very sick. There was one point, my wife, she's one that she's got a high tolerance for pain. There was a time when my wife whispered to me, "I cannot anymore. I cannot anymore. I think I just would like to die now." That was the saddest thing, and there was times that I felt the same way. What an eye-opener was the fact that there's no discrimination. There's no discrimination between age, gender, culture, ethnicity, if you're living health principles or not, if you're spiritually or not. Are you with me? Those things are not going to protect you from this virus. Since I've recovered from terminal cancer 24 years back, I've learned that the cause of disease is the breaking of the health laws that God has given us to protect us. And we find that, if you can turn in your Bibles to Exodus 15 verse 26, the Bible says that He will not allow us to get the diseases of the Egyptians. So open your Bibles, Exodus 15 verse 26, and I'm reading verse 26, and it says, "And He said," that's God speaking, "if you will carefully listen to the voice of Jehovah your God, and will do that which is right in His sight, and will give ear to His commandments, and keep all His laws, I will put none of these diseases upon you which I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am Jehovah who heals you." Now that is a powerful promise. And I've personally seen the effect of this over many years, helping people to recover from lifestyle diseases like heart disease, like diabetes, like cancer, like hypertension. If one will obey God's laws and His statutes, one will not be plagued by these lifestyle diseases. Now you can just imagine how one's belief system is challenged the day that you have obeyed all of this and you are declared COVID positive. You can just imagine. And I've heard even people say, that they don't do it straight, they do it around the corner. Ish, Pastor, but we thought you were so healthy. How come you get this virus? And I know that I have not compromised when it comes to God's laws with health. I've not compromised. I'm living them uncompromised. And then you contract COVID-19. And you get sick and you nearly die. Where is God? Why did He not protect me? Now that can shake one's faith, isn't it? That can shake one's faith. What did I do wrong? And I've been grappling with this issue for weeks. One would expect God to protect us when we obey His health laws, we obey all the country's laws, we obey all the laws with regards to protecting with this COVID. We've done all of it. We believe, we every day ask God to protect us. Why does this happen? Now, in my case, I want to state, I have followed an uncompromised healthy living policy for the last 24 years of my life. So you can understand why I seek answers to these questions. What? Is there a difference between the lifestyle diseases of the Egyptians that they died of and the end-time pandemics and plagues and diseases like COVID? Is there a difference? Well, there must be. There must be, because if the Lord says, I will not allow you to get the diseases of Egypt. And that's now healthy living. By the way, we know that because we know what the Egyptians died of. I mean, that's the beauty of them having mummies, and they were dissected and MR scans done, all of that, and they found they died of cancer, they died of heart disease, they died of diabetes, they died of hypertension. That's what they died of. Now there's a difference. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. The Israelites, and I want to complicate this a little bit more for us today. The Israelites were exempted in Egypt when they had the blood of a lamb painted on their doorposts. You remember that? Alright? So to protect their firstborn, they had to paint blood on their doorposts. And I immediately reacted when I thought of this. Lord, I've had my doorposts painted with the Lamb of God. I've had it painted. Why have the angel not passed me? That angel of disease, why did it not pass me? Why did you allow, Lord, that I would get this virus and come close to death? Why did you allow that virus to encamp my body, thy temple? I mean, this is the in-depth discussion I had with God. This is your temple, Lord. You know I've done what I could to protect it. Now, what have I learned from this horrific ordeal? What have I learned? And I'm going to share with you 9 things that I have learned from this. Lesson number 1. Never think or say that disease will not come your way. Never say or believe that's going to happen. Never say that. It is presumption to think that God will protect you because you are keeping the health laws. You're eating only the healthy foods or whatever you think you must do to stay healthy. It's presumption. It's only by, I want you to hear clearly, my beloved, it is only by His grace that He ordered the angel of death to pass the doors painted with blood. It's only by His grace. It is only His grace that can protect me from disease and disaster and misfortune in this evil and dying world. It's only by His grace. I can get into a car accident while driving back home today. It's only by God's grace that I will get home safely. It's only by His grace. I want you to know that Satan is real, and he will exercise his destructive powers to destroy, especially those that have pledged loyalty to the Creator God. So I know that I am open target. I know it. So I'm the last one to say, listen, I won't get disease because I live an uncompromised life. I know that Satan will attack me if he can. Don't think that disease will never come my way. That's wrong thinking. Lesson number 2. Don't listen to what the devil wants you to believe. Remember, he's real. And I tell you what, in this time that we were fighting for our life, remember, we've got this high fevers and you actually start hallucinating at points, and this is the time that you are most vulnerable to Satan. And he tries to make you believe things. He would start by a question like, so, you've sacrificed your appetite, but what did it help you? What did it help you? You lived the biblical health principles, and it did not protect you. You got sick like everybody else got sick around you, and they gave no attention to any of these principles. It is but an illusion. It's but an illusion. This is what Satan wants you to believe. He whispers in your ear, where is your God now? Where is your God now? While you are sick and it feels like you're going to die. And by the way, there was a time that we were scared we were going to die, and there was a time that we were scared we're not going to die. Because it was so bad, we felt that it's better to die. Your God cannot really protect you in the way you might think. It's just an illusion. And this direct confrontation with the enemy gets me thinking even deeper. So where is God really during this pandemic? Where was God with those gruesome car and truck accidents? Where was He? Last few weeks we saw a lot of them. And as I said to you, in California, 130 car pileup this week. Where was God? When we are thrown in the fire of affliction, where is He? Today we just need to get this first question answered. Where was He? And in a follow-up session, I'm going to answer the whys. I think we've got why questions and we've got, where? Where are you, God? We're going to answer the why ones later. And I want you to know that there's a lot of distractions, but let's just focus a bit. I'm not going to even try and answer the whys. We just need to know, where are you, Lord? Answer us, Lord. Where are you? While it feels as if the world has come to an end for me, where are you? Now the Lord directs my thoughts to His servants, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Faithful servants of the Lord. They are in enemy territory. By the way, are we living in the promised land? Where are we? We're in enemy territory, people. We are enemy territory. They were enemy territory. That analogy, that story is there for a purpose in the Bible. This is not our home. So they were standing out for their faith in the living God of Israel. And they were praying daily. And they were praying for protection every day. They prayed for guidance every day. And their king had, you know the story, the king had a dream of this image with the different metals, resembling different kingships. And the prophet has made prophet Daniel has made it very clear that the king Nebuchadnezzar resembles only the head of gold. And the king was very, very upset with that. And he made this image with full gold, from top to bottom, saying, it's not just the head, I am. I am. Are you with me? And there's only one I am. You know that. There's only one I am. And so, how is the question? Could God allow His servants, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to be thrown in a fiery furnace? Where was God in this at that moment? Now let's get the answer from the scriptures today. And this is really the center of our message for today. So let's go and look at, what happened here. Now just a little bit, Nebuchadnezzar is full of himself. He makes this image because of this dream. And everybody had to now bow to this image. So I'm going to take you to Daniel 3 verse 15 and onwards. And let's look at this horrific event. It was a horrific event. So Daniel 3 verse 15 says, King Nebuchadnezzar says, now if they had a speaker microphone system, we don't know. But he said, and everybody heard it, if you do not worship in that moment, remember there was music playing, and when the music stops, they need to, what? They need to bow. But if you do not worship, in that moment you shall be what? You shall be thrown in the middle of a burning fiery furnace. And who? Now the question. And who is that God? Now that's like mockery, right? And who is that God who shall deliver you out of my hand? I've got control of you. Who is the one? Who is the one? And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, this is 16. They answered and they said to the king, oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we've no need to return a word to you on this matter. We don't have to dialogue with you on this one. If it is so that our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, then He will deliver us out of your hand, O king. You might think that you have us, but you don't have us. Verse 18, but if not, let it be known to your king. Now look at this challenge. O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. We will not do it. Even though it might seem that our God is not there for us. Then verse 19, then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath. He was angry. And the form of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach. So he was, nice and polite with them while conversing with them. But now it changed. He was angry. And he spoke. And he commanded that they should heat that furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. Verse 20. And he commanded mighty men in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the burning fiery furnace. And then these men were tied up in their slippers, their tunics, their mantles, everything, their clothes that they had on, and the other clothes, and they were thrown into the middle of the burning fiery furnace. And verse 22 says, then because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace is exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they didn't even work on this plan, that you're not being able to go close to this fire. And so these guys, when they threw in the servants of God, they died. Verse 23 says, and these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was amazed. He rose up in a haste, and he spoke, and he said to his advisors, guys, did we not throw 3 men down into the middle of the fire? And they answered, they said to him, King, that's true. That's true. And then 25 he says, but look, I see 4 fire. They're not bound, they're loose, they're walking around. Remember, they had to be thrown in by these guys because they were tied up. Their feet were tied up, their hands were tied up, so they wouldn't be able to run. They didn't want that big mess up. And now these guys are walking around in this fire. And he says the form of the fourth is like a son of the gods. The son of God. And then 26. And then Nebuchadnezzar, he came near to the door of the burning fiery furnace, and he answered. Now I think he screamed. He screamed. I think that's the wrong translation. He screamed. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come forth, come out. And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth from the middle of the fire. You know, this biblical narrative is actually too good to be true, isn't it? It's too good to be true. Just imagine being thrown into a fire furnace. And you walk out there, and the Bible says, I'm not going to read it, I want you to go read it. The Bible says they did not have the smell of burning. There was not a thing that changed in their clothes, in their hair, in anything. They were just as they were put into that fire. So where is God in our suffering? Where is God in our suffering? I'll tell you what, the Bible answers this clearly in this biblical narrative. Where was God when his servants were thrown into the fire? Now we're going to answer the why later. Because I've got questions about that why thing. Did the Lord forsake them? You see, at that point it seemed like it. I mean, yeah, they're in a confrontation with a king, an earthly king that's actually confronting the king of the universe. And they're in the middle. The question is, did God just leave him? No, he was there. Initially it seems that he wasn't, but he was there. Now I want you to listen to this promise in Isaiah 43 verse 2. Isaiah 43 verse 2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. So he's not saying, listen, I am not going to allow the waters to come near to you. He's not saying that. He didn't say it to Noah, did he? No. And through the rivers, they will not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burnt, nor shall the flame kill you. So it says, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew this promise and could be boldly saying to the king, if our God wants to save us, he will do that. But in any case, we will not bow to your image. And guys, I'm asking myself, with all the questions I've asked while I was lying on my back, did I have that faith that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had? Seeing the fire, feeling the heat of the fire, and saying to the king, it's okay. If God wants us to go in there, we'll be in there. We'll be okay. You know, I've just learned out of this that I've got so much to learn. You see, God did not promise you will not experience flood. He did not promise that he will protect you from getting into the fire. No, he did not. He promised that if you get into that, I will be with you. I will be with you. And I'll tell you what, the moment I perceived this, while I felt that I'm dying, that was the time when I believe healing and recovery start happening. God is here with me. Even though I'm hallucinating with fever, he is with me. virus and got very sick, where was God? He was with us. Did He promise that we would not get sick? No. If I get a heart disease, it will be probably my own fault because I'm not doing what I should. But remember, this disease, and you saw the statement, is orchestrated by whom? By Satan. Does it mean He cannot protect us from a microscopic virus? Does it mean God cannot protect us from a microscopic virus that's let loose by the enemy? Question. Cannot God protect us from that? Absolutely, He can. He can. Where is God in times like these? It's so important, people, to sort this out in our own minds. Our faith should not quiver even in the biggest tragedy. It should not quiver. And I must be honest, my faith quivered in this episode. Now, some people react and they say, Pastor, how could you have even asked the question, where is God? How could you even ask the question? What do you believe, Pastor? Now, I need to give you a gentle reminder. Remember, the devil is whispering in your ear. And he says to you, and that happens while you're very sick. He says to you, where's your God? You're sick like everybody else. I want to remind you of what we read in the Bible and what happened to Jesus on the Roman cross. I want to take you to Mark 15, verse 34. Now, I'm answering this question where people say, Pastor, how can you even ask where is God? Isn't that in itself a sign of weakness, a sign of low faith, a sign of not being grounded? Mark 15, verse 34. I'm reminding you of Jesus' words. At the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, and He's saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which is being translated as, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He cries this out in agony to His Father. Now, why does it matter me raising this? Jesus was not just man. He was the Son of God. Yet suffering agony on the cross, He cried out to His Father. And He said, Father, why are you not here with me right now? But where was God? He was there. He was there. The one, Jesus, that bore all the iniquities of our sins, of our transgressions, our wrongdoings. And it felt like the wrath of God was against Him. Aristotle, he was a Greek philosopher. He said, now listen to what he said. He said, humans could never be friends with God because friends have things in common. So friends can look at each other and say, you too. Now in Jesus, God entered the humanity, the human territory, enemy territory. He shared our suffering. He was condemned by His own creatures. And I want to tell you, Aristotle was right. Humans can never be friends with a God that they have nothing in common with. The fact is, my God has everything in common with our suffering.
Amen.
Because of Jesus.
Amen.
He's got everything to do. I can say to Jesus, "Yo, Jesus, you too." And I have said it. You too asked, "God, where are you in the suffering?" He said it. Now I apologize for the following example, because I know it can be very sensitive. But I know we have to hit the mark today with something that we might be battling with, knowing, where's God in the suffering. There was a man with the name of Elie Wiesel, and he survived Hitler's death camps. And he later went on to write a book with the experiences that he could recall. And there's one of these cases where they hung a young boy in one of these Nazi camps for the whole camp to see. So they wanted an example. And he writes here, and it's sad to read this words on paper, that this little boy was so small and his weight was so little that by the hanging his neck wouldn't break. So he hung there for hours suffering. And everybody had to look. And the writer said, I heard a man cry out loud behind me, and he says, "Where is God? We cannot look at this anymore. Where is God?" And as they stood there, they watched this boy suffer. And he said, "I heard the voice again, where is God now?" And he said he heard a voice rise within himself, and he answered, "He is here with us on these gallows. He's here." People, if you're going through difficult times, don't ask, "Where's God?" I want you to know in your heart, because if we don't have it, I want to tell you, COVID-19 is nothing. What we're still going to see. If we're going to question, where is God? And I'm talking to myself, because that's the questions I asked the last couple of weeks. If I am not grounded in God to know where's God, I'll be in trouble. I might forsake my faith in Jesus Christ. Christian hope is not about some God in the sky speaking words of comfort to us while we suffer. No. Our hope is in the Word that became flesh and lived and suffered amongst us. That is our message. And that's the difference between Jesus and everything else. There's a lot of things out there. There's Buddhism out there, and there's Hinduism out there, and there's this ism and that ism. But that's the difference. Show me the God that suffered in any of these belief systems. Is there one? Not one. Not one. This is the only. This is what makes Christianity so different. He understands your suffering. He understands your insecurity. While you sit there and you wonder, it is now just another week and a little bit more before the end of the month, before I get my pay. How are we going to survive until then? There's some of you sitting there worried about that. I know. I got that letter too. This week. Pastor, we don't have money to pay at the end of the month. I got that letter this week. I know that. I know the anxiousness. He understands that. He understood and understands the injustice, because he lived where there was injustice. He understands oppression. He understands abuse. He understands betrayal. He understands tragedy. He knows it. We don't have to ask where God is. He's there with you. He's there. You see, evil is everywhere. And there's never been more clear than on the cross of Jesus, where God Himself became the willing victim for us. So what's the answer? Where's God while we experience so much evil and suffering in this world? Where is He? He's with us, people. Where was God while Edna and I fought for our lives? Where was He? He was with us. He was with us. God is giving you something better than just a verbal answer today. It's not just a verbal answer. He's with us. No. He has given Himself to you. And still better, the sovereign and resurrected Jesus, He tells us, He says, that the evil does not get the final word. Read with me Isaiah 53 verse 5. Isaiah 53 verse 5. I want you to read this promise with me. That gives me hope today. This is why I am here today. Isaiah 53 verse 5. But He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. He's not there looking at our suffering from a distance. No. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon Him. And with His stripes we are healed. Jesus was bruised for our iniquities. He is in the suffering with us, people. Don't ask, where's God? He's there. I want to give you just a feeling of where our prophet was in this. You all know the story of Ellen White. She was not a healthy person. She had a lot of difficulties in her life. And she has seen the worst of the worst. I had a little bit more time on my hands to read in the last couple of weeks. And I asked myself, I wonder, I always compare. I say, okay, this is what science say, okay, this is what the Bible say, this is what our prophet says. And so in this process, I look at what Ellen White says, and I want to tell you, she kept fighting for her family and the brethren she was able to help as she clung to the promises of the Lord while in sickness, while she wasn't feeling good. We must also proclaim that trusting the protective power of God in the midst of crisis we are going through. And so, here's a lesson that I've learned, and I want us to put down. Here are some of the lessons. What did I learn from this horrific experience that Ed and I have had? Lesson number 3. Do not get discouraged. Ellen White really got discouraged. She was really hampered her whole life. She didn't get discouraged. We need to apply this practically, people, and it's not so easy. It's not so easy to just dispel discouragement. And I want to be honest with you, in the last couple of weeks, I've been discouraged. Yesterday, I was discouraged. Because I felt, okay, it's going better, but yesterday it wasn't a good day for me. I felt discouraged. But the lesson is, we should not get discouraged. Lesson number 4. Cling to the Lord's promises. We must remember that God's presence gives us courage. And the lesson is, hang on to those promises. I've learned to open, and by the way, guys, if you want to do this, do yourself a big favor. If you cannot memorize, by the way, we need to start memorizing our verses, our promises. If it's hard for you to do that, at least get it marked in your Bible so you can open your Bible, God can show you a promise. Look at this one. We read it in the scripture. Isaiah 41 verse 10. Fear not. By the way, with this pandemic, that was one of the key factors. Fear. There was a lot of fear instilled in many of us. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will what? I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And so in the words of Apostle Paul, we find there in 2 Corinthians 4 verse 8 and 9, he says, we are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. Now Apostle Paul says to us, guys, you're going to have troubles. You're going to get sick. It's going to happen. We are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. We are persecuted, by the way, this time, but not forsaken. We are struck down, but not destroyed. I just read from the scripture. So it's a situation that is struck, but not destroyed us. We are facing challenges. We are facing struggles. We are facing these things. And we're going to face more challenges as times go on. But Jesus is alive. My brother and sister, Jesus is alive. Amen. He is our refuge. And He is our strength. And even if we go through the valley of the shadow of death, we know the Lord will be with us. Psalm 23. You know that? Our final victory is from the Lord. We need to just trust in Him that He will be the final victor. Lesson number 5. Don't stop fulfilling your calling. God has called you for something. Ellen White did not stop writing. Even if she was sick and not feeling good, she kept on writing. She still set up times to meet up her goals. And I've had to learn that lesson in the last couple of weeks. Although I was weak, I set myself small little goals to carry on, to get to where I need to be. And in lockdown, that is so important. We need to set ourselves goals. We cannot go where we want to at what time we want to, but we need to set goals. You see, we are isolated, but it doesn't mean we cannot go on with life. Matthew 28 verse 20, the Lord said, and lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. When you are sick, where will you be, Lord? He will be with me. There's a lesson number 6 I've heard. Lesson number 6 is, keep active with the right attitude. Keep active with the right attitude. Ellen White had the privilege of using, and I believe if she had the privilege of using social media and all of those things that we have today, what do you think she would have done? Yeah, she would have started the WhatsApp group. That's it. She would have started that small online group. I believe it. She would have sent special messages to the church of encouragement. Because she did it. That's what she wrote. But that's the medium that was there in that time. She gave morning advice. I think she would give morning advice on Facebook. I'm sure she would have done that. Because that's what she did. Maybe a pre-recorded devotional message shared through social media, YouTube. I'm sure. So we need to utilize what we have, people. I see some just, if we cannot be at church, then we can do nothing. We cannot worship. It mustn't be like that. This is why I'm recording today. Because many others that want to be here, they can't be here. Now we say it to them, they can go, look. Do not get discouraged. We have a lot to do. And we can, just with a little bit of creativity, we can make a big difference. People, I want to tell you, people in our world is as shocked as you with what they've experienced in the last couple of months. And by the way, it was exactly a year back that I was here. Exactly a year back. By the way, I did quite a number of funerals in between, you and here. But I was here at this church. numerous times. But the last sermon was like, hear that. And the people out there, they are shocked as you are. It's now better time than ever because they are asking questions. People are asking questions more than ever before. Because the reality of the time that we live in, it's now real to them. And we know the truth. We need to share it. So we need to not get discouraged. You can follow church worship services on the internet now, and many have used Zoom platforms and whatever. Let's carry on. Let's not be discouraged. Let's carry on. Lesson number 7. We're nearly there. Acquire a prayerful attitude. Acquire a prayerful attitude. I want to assure you, church, God impressed me with names of you personally on a daily basis, and I'm praying for you. I'm praying for this church at large every day of my life. And I just could have the attitude, Lord, this is your children. Please protect them. Please guide them. Please help them. Ellen White had a prayerful attitude, full of trust in God's power amidst her challenges. We need to trust more than we have trusted in the past. There's 1,000 of promises that we can cling to. And we need to pray on those promises with the Lord. Ellen White wrote, she wrote in letter 30, she said, I thank the Lord I am improving, and I am in good courage. The church must cling to Jesus more firmly than ever. While she's not feeling good, she's saying the church, she's giving us advice, must cling to Jesus more firmly than ever. When Paul was taken to Rome as a prisoner, and he had to face a dreadful storm at sea, and his ship endured that strong-wheeled wind called the Euroclydon. It was the wind that actually made that ship to sink. And at that moment, he said 3 specific things. You can go look at it if I'm talking the truth. That's in Acts 23, verse 25. You know, I've looked, while I'm lying, I'm suffering, I'm looking at examples, biblical examples of those that have suffered. And you know what he said? Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. The second thing he said, do not get discouraged, be hopeful. The third thing that he said is keep positive attitude. There will be no losses because God will be with you. And by the way, there was no losses with that shipwreck. There was no losses. Lesson number 8. Remember there's 9. Lesson number 8. Do not be afraid. I think this pandemic has been blown up to such an extent that people are fearful. And I believe that that is part of the reason why many got sick. Because their immune system was actually affected by the fear. And I've got a lot of science to prove it. You see, we should be more hopeful in the Lord, even in the circumstances. And so this takes us back to our scripture reading that says, fear not, for I am in heaven and looking down at you suffering. I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you. And I know this is the reason why I could stand here today, is because God has given me the strength. Amen. I would not be able to do it if it wasn't for Him. Lesson 9. Lesson 9. Use the means and the remedies God provides. God has used people to help us with remedies that saves lives. Do not think it is a forsaking of your faith in the healing God, not using a remedy, because God will protect me. God will heal me. Now I've come across that. So there's a remedy available for you to use to help you in the situation. No, that will be forsaking my faith that God will heal me. Remember, God uses even those that He sends with those remedies.
Yeah.
And those remedies are His agents that He is using.
Mm.
And so don't go to the point where you say, no, that's going to be forsaking my faith. No, that's not true. So people, what have I learned? In summary, where is Jesus for suffering? Where is He? Let's go to number one. And I'm just going to quickly mention it so that we are reminded of what we spoke about today. Don't think disease will never come your way. Lesson number one. Lesson number two. Don't listen to what the devil wants you to believe. Don't listen to him. Do not get discouraged. Cling to the promise of Jesus. Don't stop fulfilling your calling. Keep active with the right attitude. Acquire a prayerful attitude. Do not be afraid. Number 9. Use the means and the remedies God has provided. Let's pray. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, our hearts are just bubbling with joy for the fact that you are alive, and that even though we might have been distracted thinking some things that the enemy wants us to think, that the reality is that you are with us in the suffering. And even when we get into fire and destructive positions, that you will be there and that you will guide and bless us at that time. Thank you, Lord, for this lesson, this big lesson we could learn today. That we don't need to fear. We need to, Lord, just look at you and apply these lessons that we learn from our lives so that we can be closer to you. Lord, we thank you that we can know that the time is very, very at the end. We don't have much time left. That we will be mindful of what we do so that we can bring glory to your name. And that we would be ready when you come, Lord, that we'll be with you. I pray for each one of my brothers and sisters. I pray, Lord, that you would fill their hearts with your presence, with your love, with mercy, with kindness, with understanding and compassion. Thank you for doing that, Lord. And I thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.